The Bookshelf with me, Ryan Tubridy, is brought to you by Ballymore. Founded by Sean Mulryan in 1982, Ballymore has long put arts and culture at the heart of what it does, from supporting artists and performers to weaving creativity into the neighbourhoods it builds. Alongside this cultural commitment, Ballymore creates places with soul. Its international portfolio is filled with award-winning workspaces, homes, shopping centres and entire neighbourhoods across Dublin, London, Bratislava, Prague and Berlin. Places where design, innovation and creativity come together and where people can live, work and play. Well, today on The Bookshelf, I am very, very happy, very, very pleased to welcome one of the world's most popular and enduring storytellers, the great Jeffrey Archer. Jeffrey, let's just take some of the things. Published in 114 countries, correct?
119.
Thank you. 47 languages?
Correct.
Okay. Over 300 million copies sold?
Do you know, it's very interesting you say that, Ryan. How the hell does anyone know?
I never.
I can tell you one fact.
Tell me.
Which is not arguable, but can you prove Cain and Abel's on its 142nd reprint?
Holy smoke.
That isn't up for discussion because it's printed on the page.
That'll do for now. Jeffrey, firmly established, one of the world's best-selling authors, captivated readers like myself across generations, and now with the release of Endgame. The old master still has it, let me tell you, and we'll talk about that in a moment. But this is the thrilling finale to his acclaimed William Warwick series. Jeffrey's here to talk about not only his extraordinary career, but just some of the lovely books from his own bookshelf that have informed who he is down through the years. So welcome, Jeffrey. It's good to see you.
Thank you, Ryan. It's good to be here.
I think first of all, you are defying the chronological gods by your energy and physical.
I'm 85.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, do you feel 40, 30, 50?
55.
55. You're playing tennis still?
No, I go to the gym. I was in the gym this morning.
Okay.
I go to the gym twice a week. I have a massage once a week, and I try to walk 10,000 paces a day.
A day.
Which is about 3 miles.
Okay. Do you like a drink? Do you take a scoop?
A glass of wine at night.
Yeah.
My problem, actually, answering that question honestly, Ryan, was when I was a child, I ran. Never quite good enough. I ran for Britain, England and Britain, and never was quite good enough. So I never drank until I was 26 years old.
Yes.
And you don't suddenly start at 26.
Yeah.
So I've been a conservative drinker with a small c for most of my life.
You were born in 1940. So we were 1 year
In the
into
war.
World War II. Child of your time. I mean, it's extraordinary. Tell me, if you wouldn't mind, about your house. And by that I mean, who are you living with? Who was around?
My mother and father lived in a tiny house in Locking Road, Weston-super-Mare. I was born in London, but Churchill had ordered all children to get out.
Yes.
And I was sent, my grandmother lived in Weston-super-Mare, so I was sent down because of my grandmother. So my mother and father lived in a tiny house. We were penniless. We didn't have a fridge. Not many people did have a fridge in those days.
Yeah.
And I remember when we watched the coronation of the Queen, we watched it in the mayor's house, in his parlour, because we didn't have no one did. The parlour was packed with people watching the one television in Weston-super-Mare.
And what were your parents' names?
My father was William, and my mother Lola.
And they did what? They're beautiful names. What did they do for a living?
My father was a printer.
Yeah.
And my mother became, which I'm very proud of, became chairman of the Arts Committee for Weston-super-Mare. She was a councillor.
Yeah.
And I suppose that's where I got my first love of politics, because we discussed it at the table. And she got me the sack.
Go on.
Yes. Well, at the age of 9, I may have been 10, I wanted to earn a little pocket money. So I went on the Weston-super-Mare beach, and I was put in charge of the deck chairs, which you sold at 4p each. And I noticed that people weren't coming to my pile of deck chairs.
Yes.
So I took the deck chairs to the people and then collected the 4p. And because I'd left the deck chairs, despite the fact I collected twice as much money as anyone else, because I'd left my pile of deck chairs, I was sacked.
Okay. It's funny, with your dad a printer, your mum interested in the arts and politics, pretty much sums up where your life would lead. in every sense. Printing books,
Yes.
the arts as a writer, and the politics, which we mentioned. It was all there at the kitchen table.
Storytelling, as you know, Ryan, very well indeed, has nothing to do. It's a God-given gift. When young people come to see me, and it's wonderful to see them, it keeps me while I'm young. I say, go to the ballet. And they say, what are you talking about? Go to the ballet. Why? You will see the prima ballerina, and you will realize how many hours work she has done to be the prima ballerina. And that's despite the fact God gave her an amazing talent. I am not a ballerina. I am a storyteller. It's a God-given gift, but I swear to you, I work as hard as any ballerina.
Well, I'm going to come to that in a minute, but going back to you as a young Jeffrey at home with your mother Lola and your father William in the house. Were there siblings?
No,
just yourself.
Only child.
Only child. Were there books in the house? Were there magazines in the house? Were there newspapers in the house? What was the reading material? Were you drawn to it, or did you walk?
My mother wrote for the local paper. That was one of her 3 jobs. She wrote a column called Over the Teacups for the Western-super-Mare Mercury. So yes, there were books in the house. We read from a young age. Doesn't mean anything to you when you're a child, does it? Because you don't know what other children have. You don't know, and that's a good thing.
Yes.
Because clearly other children were far better off than I was. Never worried me. I've never been in that way. It's very interesting. Despite having sold the odd copy, I've never cared about wealth as such. If you were to say to me today, Ryan, I can give you £1 million in advance for your next book, and you won't have to write another word. Or I can give you 1 million new readers and £1. I take the 1 million new readers every time.
Why?
So I've never been driven by money. I am driven to the point of embarrassment.
Yes.
But it's driven to be read by millions of people.
You're there in the house and you're reading books that they're fine, it's great. But was there one that made you think, and this is the book from your childhood that we're going to ask you about now, that you went, now I am inspired. Now I want to read more, write more.
No. I didn't get inspired about being a writer until I left the House of Commons. So the answer to your question is yes, I fell in love with a book.
Okay.
Called Just William by Richmond Compton.
Very good.
Because like every boy of my age, we all thought we were William.
So tell us, because a lot of people listening won't know who Just William.
No, they won't.
Yeah.
This was a wicked schoolboy who was always in trouble, and his parents couldn't control him, and his sister, who was a beautiful young girl, a couple of years older than him, was always getting him out of trouble. And it was very much of the time we were in a world war. It was very much about a small town, and he did none of the things that it wouldn't work today. It worked for 1940 to 1950.
Yeah.
And I fell in love with him and thought it was so. I can't say that because of my love of literature I became a writer, because so many people have a love of literature. But the answer to your question, Ryan, is that was the first book I remember with affection.
And also a book that was like the best books, a bit of escapism.
Yes. I saw myself as William. I was William. Every bit as wicked. And I loved it. And by the way, it was clearly well written.
Yes.
Why? Because I loved it.
Yeah.
You can't get away with just telling a story.
Yeah.
You've got to combine the two.
Yes.
But truth is, the storytelling is a gift. The writing is being well read, well educated, well informed. That's got no connection with the storytelling.
I'm curious to know what you were like at school. I've met you a number of times, and I always get the first word that comes to mind with you is mischief. I think that you've got a twinkle in your eye that suggests a naughtiness, as they'd say in England. And maybe that's why Just William makes great sense as your first book.
Yes.
What were you like at school? Were you a pest or were you a pet?
I was a pest.
Yeah.
I was a menace. the headmaster was glad to see the back of me.
Why is that?
I mean, oh, God. I was the first child of that generation at Wellington, Somerset, who wanted to produce and direct my own play, which was Molière's L'Avare. And the headmaster said, the pupils don't produce and direct the play, the English master does. I loved the English master, Alan Quilter, who went on to be headmaster himself of Wells Cathedral School, a very, very fine man. He didn't seem to mind that I wanted to take over and run the whole damn thing. And by the way, 10 years later, David Suchet did take over and run the whole damn thing.
He became Poirot,
He got to be a great man. And so the headmaster was livid with me.
Yeah.
Because I had dared to suggest the boy could actually produce and direct. Of course, I wasn't good enough. I now know I wasn't. I was rubbish.
So were you a thrill seeker or an attention seeker?
Attention seeker. Yes. Yes.
You had to take a minute there.
Yes. No, I've been auctioneering now for 40 years for charity.
Yeah.
And people say, do you love it? I said, I'm a show-off. It's the center of the stage. I am stealing money for people for charity. Well, how could you be happier? I've done 3 this week.
Wow.
Yeah,
wow.
No, we're in September, October, November. I do 3 every week.
Those. Okay.
And I love them. So the answer to your question is, it would at 85 be dishonest of me to say I don't enjoy it and I enjoy the center of the stage.
So looking at you as you head towards the end of your school days, what were you dreaming about becoming and doing with your life?
I wanted to go to the Olympics. I wanted to run for my country. I wanted to go to Oxford. And my English master kept telling me, you're going to make your mind up, Archer. Are you going to run for your country or are you going to get... why can't I do both? And of course, in those days, Ryan, it was very different. You can't do both today. You will remind me, of course, that one of the silver medalists at the recent World Championship was a Cambridge girl. Right. Fine. That's exceptional. In my year, when I was president of Oxford Athletics, we had 17 internationals in a side of 21. And Cambridge had 18 internationals in a side. Why? Because we were amateurs. No one was paid. I wouldn't get in the British team today. I wouldn't get anywhere near it because we were amateurs.
It was for the love.
So I got lucky there. If I'd been born 10 years later, I'd have never managed it.
So out of school you went and into...
After school, I did a year off before going to Oxford. I was never... I married one of the cleverest women in England. Yes. So I can honestly say to you, I was never an academic by nature. I was, but I've written in Who's Who, educated by my wife since leaving Wellington School and Brasenose College, Oxford. You live 60 years. We'll be married 60 years next year. You've been married 60 years to Mary Archer. You either collapse or you try to survive.
You mentioned that you didn't come from an awful lot from your folks, from William and
Penniless.
Lola. Pennies. Was Oxford intimidating for somebody from that background? Because it feels to me, looking at it down through the years, as quite a privileged place to be.
Oh, yes.
And maybe not so welcoming for those from a different background.
The honest answer to that question is if you are president of athletics, you get away with, and perhaps I didn't realize the very privileged life I was leading because I was an international sportsman.
So you had a pass.
Might be. But the answer to your question is, snobbery. I've faced it all my life. I thank God in England that it's finally subsiding, but they're still there. There are still people who think they're entitled, who think they have the right to something because of the cot they were born in. They do not. They should get up in the morning and work as hard as any of us. I hate people who think they have a right because they were born in a big castle somewhere. No, I hate them. There are not many of them. They're dying out. There are not many of them.
What did snobbery look like for you, against you?
Well, there's two sorts. There's one that I came from nothing in Weston-super-Mare. How could I possibly be taken seriously? And there's the worst one, which is to be honest, it's so tiny, it's irrelevant. But, well, of course, he's not a proper writer. People turn the page and no, he's a storyteller. As if that's a crime to be a storyteller.
Yes.
I'm going to tell you a story that I'm never told before, Ryan, that I'm very, very proud of. When Mary was offered a job as the first woman at Trinity, Cambridge, hell of an achievement.
Mm-hmm.
I was struggling away. I'd just finished Cain and Abel, and the struggle was over. And I got a letter from Sir Dady Ryland, Emeritus Professor of English at Cambridge University, saying, would I be kind enough to join him for tea? I've never forgotten the courtesy of this great man. Would I be kind enough to join him for tea? So Mary dresses me up in my best clothes, pushes me out, and off I go to have tea with him. And I'm shaking because his knowledge of Shakespeare at that time was thought to be the leader in the world on Shakespeare. Mm-hmm. So I sat and listened, and he talked to me about John Gielgud playing Prospero. And then he talked about Romeo and Juliet and Peggy Ashcroft, who he was clearly in love with. And then he said, which is your favorite play, Geoffrey? And I said, I think I'd say Lear. He gave me 60 lines while I sat there. I realize now in old age, whatever play I'd said, he would have given me 60 lines straight out. I didn't realize at the time. And I get up to leave, and he takes me by the hand. And he says, Geoffrey, I have in my lifetime met two great storytellers, E.M. Forster and George Bernard Shaw. I've now met a third. And I burst into tears. I burst into tears in front of him. I've never told anyone that story because it's so preposterous at one level.
Why did you find that so emotionally stirring?
Oh, to be compared with two giants like that. He said, oh, yes.
And why haven't you told that story before?
I thought it was so showing off and so ridiculous that I've kept silent about it. I've told my wife. Because when I got back, I told her what he'd said.
But don't you feel you've earned the right to tell that story now?
No. The Washington Post came out and said Britain has found the new Alexander Dumas. So I rushed to my publishers and said, I want it on every belt, on every front cover. Britain has found the new Alexander Dumas. And they said, no, we'll be going with another winner, Larry King. I'm glad you laugh, because that was what they went with. Another winner, Larry King.
God.
And I love Larry, but
let's talk about the second of the three books today. And I think we'll go with the book that brought you joy, a book that you just love to maybe return to or that makes you very happy. Is there one that comes to mind?
I think P.G. Wodehouse is a genius.
Yeah.
An absolute genius. I say that having read last night. Here's a weird thing that happened last night. I got a first edition of Alice in Wonderland.
Oh, lovely.
Which I've been after for some years. And I decided to read it. It's not bad, is it? You understand why? You can understand why. Wow. And of course, written by a great academic.
Yes.
So P.G. Wodehouse. I love Jeeves. You see, he isn't a snob.
Yes.
Wodehouse isn't a snob, and Jeeves isn't a snob, and Bertie isn't a snob. Yeah. They are, of course, snobs at one level, but not in an unkind way.
Yes.
He took this simple, ridiculous idea that the butler, or whatever you want to call him, his man, was the brains, and the boy was basically stupid, and made you laugh until you cry.
Yeah.
That's a God-given gift.
And
that was the one, he is the man I singularly admire for his ability to make you laugh and, more important, make you cry.
Yeah. Back to more storytelling.
Yeah.
Storytelling.
Yeah.
When you left university,
Yes.
and you were getting on with your life, did you
I was going to be Prime Minister, of course. By then I decided I was going to be Prime Minister. And what was going to stop me?
That was the dream.
And I got in the House of Commons at the age of 29, so what was going to stop me? And then I made a complete bloody fool of myself and had to leave and wouldn't have written a word. If I'd remained in the House of Commons and ended up as Minister of State for Transport, I would never have written a single word. It makes one wonder if Proust is right when he said, we always end up doing the thing we're second best at.
That's great. You made a fool of yourself. What was that?
I invested in a company called Aquablast on the advice of the Bank of Boston. In modern terms, I could have got all my money back because the Bank of Boston would have had to repay me. Their chief advisor told me this company would be doubling their value in the next 3 months. And I put all my savings in and borrowed more and lost everything. I couldn't prove that he had given me the advice, the vice president. And so I lost everything. I left the House of Commons. Luckily for me, the election was a few weeks later, so I just quietly left at the next election. But I was bankrupt, and I lived off Mary. She had what I would call a reasonable salary as a don at Cambridge, and they kindly supplied her with a flat. So we lived in the flat with the 2 boys, and we lived off her until Cain and Abel. And she's lived off me ever since.
You got to get that in there. Was that, you say you made a fool of yourself. Was that humiliating, or was it, do you chalk it down as, no, it wasn't humiliation, it was another chapter in my life? That's what it is.
It was humiliating, was it? And I'd been greedy. So any young person, I would say to, if greed is the motivation for making quick money, don't bother. Yeah. You will lose 9 times out of 10. In fact, today, with all these amazing scams, you'll probably lose 19 times out of 20.
Yeah.
I just made a fool of myself, lost the little bit I'd made, lost everything, and turned to writing.
I mean, I'm fascinated by sliding doors, and what if you had stayed on to become Prime Minister, if you wanted to be, if that was the ambition, but fate had other plans, and you went back to the writing, and you stuck with the writing. I mean, the shelves would be very quiet if you had stayed in politics, wouldn't they? The shelves of the bookshops would be...
I'd have been Minister of Transport, except that I got on very well with Margaret Thatcher and went back to work for her, of course, for 11 years, and really as an irrelevant bag carrier, occasional speechwriter. So...
Why did you find her so attractive? And I mean that obviously professionally, respectfully.
Because it's easy to sum up saying she knew what she wanted. She didn't believe in focus groups. And she always said, if they want to get rid of me, Geoffrey, they can get rid of me, but I'm not going to be influenced by focus groups. And she went the route she wanted to. Though I do point out to people, her first year wasn't a great success. The world thinks of her as the Iron Lady. That came later. And it worries me now that the Conservative Party, of which I remain proudly a member, changes its leader every year. So we've had 6 leaders in the last 7 years. She would have been thrown out if it had worked that way as it does now. She would never have made the second year. And for anyone else listening, I'll give you a better example. Ferguson, head of Manchester United, would have been thrown out at the end of the first year. If you don't win straight away, they throw you out. So Alex Ferguson would never have made the second year, let alone gone on to be one of the great managers of all time.
So the notion of delayed gratification is underrated.
Yeah, quite right. Nicely put, sir.
So you find yourself turning to writing properly full-time, I say, not properly, full-time, as opposed to politics as a distraction, and you're getting on with life. And then you ended up in prison, which is, a lot of people will know. A lot of people won't know because...
25 years ago.
It's a long time ago. In a nutshell, why did you end up in prison?
Committing perjury.
And in another nutshell, how long were you in prison?
4 years.
4 years. Do you remember the day, the night before you went to prison? Do you remember packing your bag, or is it a blur?
Yes, I'm by nature an optimist.
Yeah.
So I thought it was a stage in life. I didn't want to shoot myself. They keep a watch on you when you first go in case you commit suicide. That had never crossed my mind. I wanted to get on with life, and I learnt a lot from the 4 years. I came out with amazing stories.
Well, I mean, what a place to go for stories.
Story after story, and met some fairly amazing people too, and thought, how many of them would have been all right if they'd had a decent upbringing or a chance in life. I came away actually thinking how lucky I was.
Did it change you, or do you think that you always knew your mind anyway, and that prison, it might have enhanced a little bit, but it didn't change you?
Oh, it changed me.
Did it?
Yes. I remember a boy sitting on the end of he was 18, 19, sitting on the end of the bed, and I was 60. And he said, "I'll change places with you." I said, "What are you talking about? I'm 60. He said, "No, I'll change places with you." I said, "What?" He said, "I'm a drug addict. And I'd rather be you at 60 than I'd be me at 18. He died a year later of a heroin injection. And it rung home to me those days when I'd had my running days, when I didn't drink.
Yeah.
I didn't know what heroin was. I didn't know what cocaine was. I didn't know what crack cocaine was. They weren't part of my life, and they were part of so many lives. I just felt very, very sorry and very, very lucky.
You described the bankruptcy as being humiliating. What word would you use to describe the prison sentence?
Learning process. You'd be surprised how many people, world-class businessmen, whisper in my ear, "My God, I'd like a couple a year, not 4, Jeffrey, but 2 wouldn't do me any harm." And because they really think they'd learn. It's a process. It's amazing how many highly intelligent people wonders what the process was like.
Did you read in prison?
Every day.
All the time?
Yeah.
Did you go back to...
I was in charge of the library.
Yes.
I quickly got the best job.
Yeah.
And I shared it with a murderer who was a highly intelligent man, very well educated. So I said to him one day, because I was in charge, he was my number 2. I said to him, "Do you think I could murder anyone?" He said, "No, Jeffrey, you could never murder anyone." "Why?" And he said, "Because you let it out the whole time. So often," he said, "I kept everything bottled up and then lost my temper and killed someone. You don't. You let it out with every sentence. Yeah. You'd never kill anyone," he said. And I thought that was an amazing assessment.
What a learning.
Yes.
I mean,
yes,
honestly.
Exactly.
Did your sons come to see you in prison regularly?
Yes.
And how did you let them, how old were they?
So did Barry Justice. So did Barry Humphreys.
Barry Humphreys.
So did, a list of people. They queued up.
I bet. How did you convince your son? How old were they at that time, roughly?
12, 13.
How did you tell them, convince them that everything was going to be okay and don't be worried about their father and the prison and the whole thing?
Didn't worry about me at all. I don't think I exuded worry. The wonderful thing when I came out was I held one of my Christmas parties. Mary had held them in between, of course. And we had the largest turnout ever. And the press was saying, "Will anyone turn up? Will anyone be there?" They couldn't get in the room. So the cartoonist Jack in the Evening Standard did a big cartoon of a room packed with people, and one saying to the other, "I thought you weren't coming."
That's it.
So my friends stood by me, and that's in life, that's the most important thing.
It sure is.
If your friends stand by you.
Hear, hear. Is that...
Including Margaret Thatcher and John Major.
Stood by you?
Yeah, absolutely.
Kept in touch, wrote letters?
No. Margaret took me to lunch at the Ritz. She took the center table in the middle of the room. Couldn't have made it more obvious.
Wow. Is the cartoon you described, is that in a frame somewhere?
It's in the lavatory in Cambridge. Yes,
I thought it might be. Because I was in your apartment once many years ago when I was younger, and you will have no recollection of this. But the point of the story is that your collection of art is breathtaking. You obviously have a great eye and a massive collection, and
I'm well advised.
Well, it's good stuff. I remember saying, "Do you mind if I use the facilities?" You said yes. And it was something along the lines of go straight past the Picasso, left to the Pizarro, and straight in front of the Warhol. And I thought, where am I?
I saw that printed and thought, I've got to live with that the rest of my life.
It's funny, though.
It gets
It's funny.
repeated again and again. I've been lucky. I buy a new picture with every book.
Do you? Is that your treat?
That's I buy other pictures, of course, but with every book, I buy a picture to celebrate.
Which of all your paintings, pictures, prints, whatever you want to call it, do you like the most, or the one that you look at and go, oh, I can't believe I own that?
Rubens.
Right.
I own a Rubens. There isn't a day when I don't stare at it and think, aren't you the luckiest man in the world?
Well, what's it doing for you, for your soul?
It's like genius of any sort.
Yeah.
Whatever field it's in, Ryan, genius shouts at you.
Mm-hmm.
It shouts at you. And when you look at the painting, you're frightened to put it next to another painting because it shouts. But sorry to stop you, Jeffrey, but this is genius. My name is Peter Paul Rubens. Sorry, sir. Yes.
What is the book that changed your life?
It's very difficult to say one book changed one's life. Certainly The Count of Monte Cristo, which is too long.
It's very
by
long.
modern standards. I mean, 2,000 pages. You know, he's in prison for 400 pages. So when I tried to do the rewrite of A Prisoner of Birth, he's in prison for 34 pages.
Yeah.
Because the modern public's attention span is so short. In fact, I always say now when I do speeches that I am honored how many people have allowed me to spend 8 hours in their company.
Yeah.
Because, and in the case of The Count of Monte Cristo, you'd have to spend 20 hours. But by the way, Ryan, in case you've forgotten, he wrote The Count of Monte Cristo and The Three Musketeers in the same year.
I did not know that. I mean,
there was no television. There were no distractions that we have today, phones and all those sort of things.
Yeah.
But still to have written 2 books of true genius in 1 year does make us all look like a bunch of layabouts.
I'd say Larry King would have loved him.
Larry King. You got to have him on twice, dear Larry.
Duma, King,
dear
Archer.
I used to do I got to know Larry quite by accident. He was absolutely unknown doing a midnight show in Washington, and I was absolutely unknown doing a midnight show in Washington, and we became friends.
Yeah.
And he got used to the fact he could leave me on for 30 minutes without any problem. He didn't have, then he started leaving me on he had a 3-hour show every night. So I did an hour every night with Larry, and then I went home back to England, and I looked at, he's become famous. He's got the top in his braces. Well, there were no braces on the radio show, by the way. And he deserved it. He was a class act. Class act.
Hearty congratulations on Endgame.
Yes.
Which I think, did you ever hear the expression when you inhale a book, you just take it in and go for it? Again, you're 85 years old. We've talked about that. No sense of blunting of the edges here. It's the Olympic Games in London. You do that lovely thing we mentioned about many of the things you're about to read are real. Can you decide, dear reader, which is real and which is imagined? And you can tell the research you put into it, the policing, the work behind the scenes to find out how do we make this as authentic as possible without too much jargon and yet bring you a thriller. As they say, you show no sign of stopping.
I got lucky with that one.
Did you?
Because all my contacts in the sporting world, I went to see Seb Coe in Monaco and sat down with him and said, everybody perceives the London 2012 Olympic Games as a massive success. I can't believe something didn't go wrong. And he said, well, if it did, Jeffrey, I wasn't aware of it. The man you have to talk to is Commander Broadhurst, who was the officer in charge of security. So I went back to England. I saw the commander, and I quite expected him to say, whoa, yes, but I'm sorry, I can't talk about it. But he felt after 13 years he could talk about it. And he said, yes, 14 things went wrong. 2 would have closed the games. 1 would have closed the opening ceremony. 1, I'd have had to clear the stadium on the 4th day of the athletics. We got through. 12 were small items which would have made the front page of any paper, and we got through all 14 without people. One crept through. One crept through. Colombia were playing South Korea in the football first round up in the north of England, and they played the North Korean national anthem when South Korea were walking on. It didn't go down well.
Yeah.
And Sebastian Coe rang up and apologized, and it was forgotten. And indeed, South Korea won the game, so it was forgotten. But that was one that crept through and made the third page.
But what you remind readers in your book is that the drama of who's going to get the games when they were announced in the games.
The opening, yeah.
The opening. And how's it all going to work? And Russia, obviously the UK and everything else. And the day after they announced, in July the 7th, they announced, what happened?
Well, we were up against the final were the Spanish, the French, and the British, the British. And everybody thought the French were going to win, including the French. And when Spain were the third dropped out, we thought we were going to be dropped out, and the final vote would be between Spain and. But they don't. Spain dropped out, and Sebastian Coe was convinced that the Spanish would back the French, so he was genuinely shocked when we won by 4 votes. Yeah. Paris beat London.
Yeah,
would Paris beat London? And we beat Paris by 4 votes. London did. And off they went to bed, celebrating, having a wonderful time, ready to congratulate everybody. And whoomph, the day after, a bomb on a London Underground train killed 2 people, injured several others. And he had told, Sebastian Coe had told the committee, I can get people from Victoria to the stadium on the Underground in 20 minutes. If that bomb had been 2 days earlier, the French would have won it. We would never have been in the frame. History can change so suddenly and so quickly.
It's remarkable.
So that's the opening of the book.
Yeah.
I decided to make that the opening of the book, that they immediately face, my hero, William Warwick, immediately faces the problem that he didn't think he'd get the games. He gets the games. And he's going to be in charge of security.
Yeah.
And 2 days later, there's a bomb on a London Underground.
Yeah.
That was too good not to be an opening.
Yeah, you had to.
And real life.
And real life. Anyway, congratulations on, and people are going to love that. No doubt about it. My final question to you, books-wise, is can you give us the name, at the age of 85 as you are now, the name of the autobiography you have yet to write?
I'm not going to write an autobiography. I'm avoiding this question in a pathetic way that will make you...
You don't have to write it.
No.
We are in the realm of fiction to an extent, so you can just give us the name of one.
I will come to that in a moment. But I am going to write my final book.
Oh.
And I've already done 14 drafts. I decided, and you will know who I'm referring to, and I won't say the name because it's embarrassing. There are several authors whose final book has been bad.
Okay.
Some have taken money. Some just were lazy. And one actually had Alzheimer's. And the publisher still put the book out. And the world who really loves books know exactly who that was. And it was rubbed into me by a dear friend of mine. And I went home, this is 6 years ago, and I thought there has to be a point when I stop. I do not want to just turn out another book. And then I got an idea bigger than Cain and Abel. I wondered if I could write it, but I knew the idea was bigger than Cain and Abel. And the idea is very simple. It's what happened on September the 15th, 1940, when Hitler changed his mind 3 times in one day. If he'd gone the other way, would the war have ended that day? Now, because the war went on to 1945, it got lost in the history of time. So I then studied 3 very distinguished historians and only looked carefully at what happened on September the 13th, 14th, 15th, 16th, 17th, 18th, and 19th, and how that would have changed the world. So I knew I'd got a story. Then I double-checked if anyone had done it in fiction. Nobody. All the leading distinguished academic historians had covered it in detail, but no fiction book. So for 6 years, my brain was going, and then I wrote a 100-page outline for my publishers, and they said, please, please write it now. What they meant was, will you live long enough to write? Oh, yes. They were quite subtle about it, but I got the message. I said, no, I'm going to finish the William Warwicks. I know where he's going. He's now a chief superintendent. He'll then be a commander, and then will he be commissioner of the Metropolitan Police? I know where I'm going. No, Geoffrey, no. And one of them said, we'll give you a yacht and we'll push it out to sea and you needn't come back that's how strongly they felt about the outline. So I said, no. And I finished Endgame, the last of the William Warwicks, a year ago, 9 months ago, and began on the new book and have been working on it ever since. And I'm on the 14th draft and I'm still not there.
The new and last book?
It will be my final novel. Yes.
Your final novel.
There's another reason, Ryan. I don't think I can ever do this again. This is, in my heart, I believe it's better than Cain and Abel. And what am I going to do next?
Yeah.
No, this is the final novel.
How do you feel about that?
Well, I suppose it depends how long I live. But I feel fine about that. I'll be very proud to go to my grave with this novel.
I've enjoyed our conversation.
You're very kind.
Thank you, Geoffrey, for being
you.
here today. Good luck.
Thank you.
This episode is brought to you by Ballymore, a company that creates places with soul, putting arts and culture at the heart of its work alongside creating award-winning workspaces, homes and neighbourhoods across the UK, Ireland and wider Europe. To find out more about the places Ballymore is shaping, where people can live, work and play, visit ballymoregroup.com.